Richard Baldwin, who's been shrimping on the Billy B for 50 plus years, and he's still at it. And he's the guy that runs this place. So I'm gonna let you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then I got some questions to ask you.
First off, welcome to Bennett's Point. If this is your first time down here, we got a great little community down here. Most of the people who moved down here love it. We do community events here like 4th of July fireworks show, New Year's Eve, do fishing tournaments. And, you know, we like the hot spot for the community, I guess, so to speak. And like Mike said, I started shrimping probably 55 years ago to be more accurate. But when I got out of high school in 1974, since then I've been doing it full time. You know, I enjoy it. That's why I'm still doing it. Sometimes it's difficult, sometimes it's fun. You know, that's just the way any job is that anybody would do. But when Mike asked me to do this, I said, you know, what am I supposed to do? I don't know. I'm not that good of an interviewer or nothing. So I told him to write some questions and ask me. So he's going to ask the questions. I'm going to try to answer the best I can. And when we get through with his questions, I got 2 shrimp in this bucket up here. One of them's a male and a female. I don't know how many of y'all know how to tell the difference on shrimp species, but I'll show y'all that. Let's do the questions first.
And then we got a human demonstration after that to see if we can tell the difference between the male and the female. Just kidding. So Richard, starting with, you already told us your name. We want your date and place of birth.
I was born in Walterboro in July 28, 1956, and I've lived down here all my life, other than time when I traveled shrimping. I went as far as Louisiana and Key West, and you know, shrimping. Other than that, I've been right here at Bennett's Point my whole life. I live over on Pembroke Island over here, on the inland waterway.
Okay, cool. So, what was your and these questions came from members of the local Porsche Club. So number one, what was your best day in the shrimping business?
I've had some good days. That's probably my most productive day. I caught like 6,400 pounds in 4 hours one time. And I don't remember back then, the price was about $2 a pound, so it was a pretty good day.
Yeah, $8.50 a pound, that would be a lot of money today. So, what was your worst day in the shrimping business?
Well, any day nothing breaks is a good day, but I've been out there some days when I come back with nothing. You know, so 0 shrimp. I guess you could say it'll be the worst day.
Unless your boat sinks, I guess that'd be the worst day. What's the strangest thing you've ever seen on the water?
Probably in 1986, after the channel exploded, I was dragging 50 miles offshore out there, and pieces of it were floating all around me. So one of them was an orange tank-like thing, and I called the Coast Guard, and turned out it was a helium tank off the Challenger, and they made me follow it around for 6 hours, and they came out of Charleston to come out there to pick it up. If I knew what I knew now, I would have picked it up, and then I could have sold it to somebody for me.
Well, I hope they at least paid you for tracking it for 6 hours. So, what's the strangest thing you've ever pulled up in your net?
We've caught all kind of stuff, but mines. We had one time we pulled into the dock at Key West, and we had caught a mine out there in the old mine fields from the wars, and I called the Navy when I got in, and they told me don't move the mine. We'd already been rolling all around on deck. They came down and said it would still have some whatever blew up in it. So that was probably a strange thing. I caught a fighter jet windshield.
Don't move.
Was that in the Billy B down at Key West?
I was on the Hazel Bee then.
The Hazel Bee,
You can
okay.
ask me about boats.
Yeah. So, well, just go ahead, if it's come out in here, tell us about your boats.
So my daddy started out in the 50s with a small North Carolina hull boat. He had managed property for a family from up north, the Dodge family, Pembroke Island and these 2 islands over here, but he shrimped part-time. In 1970 or so, 68, when the Vietnam War was still going on, the Marines decided this place was a lot like Vietnam. It wasn't developed back then like it is now. So they came down here doing maneuvers, and we got to know a bunch of it. Turns out one of them was from Barlow Battery, Alabama, and that's how Daddy found out these boats. And so he had ordered one in 1972. We got the Miss Hazelby. And then in 1978, we got this Billy Bee. They came from Barlow Battery, Alabama. The hull's made out of Philippine mahogany. Which it rots too after a certain period of time. But anyway, that's how we wound up with these particular boats.
Okay, cool. Well, just a little side note, it's sitting in the question and answer, but I mentioned earlier, Richard and I went to high school together, and he graduated in 1974. I was supposed to graduate in 1974, but I failed the 12th grade. And I'll attribute that to the fact that I went to school in Columbia through the 11th grade, and I went to a high school with over 2,000 students. They just wanted you in and out. They didn't care if you learned anything. Thankfully, they did care if you learned anything in Waldoboro. And so our high school English teacher, Miss Virginia Von Lee, said I wasn't ready to go to college. And she was probably right. So it's probably the best thing that ever happened to me that she held me back. And I always thought I was smarter than Richard. And of course he graduated on time. But the reason that I know he's a lot smarter is because he gave her like 20 pounds of shrimp. And she passed it.
Right. It turned out that we had roast shrimp that season, so we started catching them in May. And I said, Miss Monley, you'd like some shrimp? She said, sure. So I took her the shrimp. She went ahead and passed me some.
Yeah, so that confirms he's a lot smarter than me. So what's a typical year's work cycle as a shrimper? Like how many days on the water versus days fixing the boat and equipment or going on vacation?
That's a tough one. I have worked back when I worked a lot, 150 shrimp days, actually days on the water shrimping season. This past season I only did like 70 something. So. But as far as maintenance on the boat, every year that's different. You know, like rebuilding the motor takes sometimes 3 weeks, you know, just whatever you're doing. When you haul it out on the hill, that's usually a 5-day job, 6 days, possibly 10, depends on what all you got to do. So.
What are the seasons? The seasons.
What are the seasons?
South Carolina has no set season, but right now, shrimp federal water's open. If we have a real cold winter, like if it stayed cold 2 or 3 more days in January and wiped out the overwinter winter and crop of shrimp, they shut down federal waters too. Right now, I could go in federal waters. They open what they call provisional roast shrimp areas, which is from about 2.7 miles offshore out to the federal line. And last year it was in April. We don't know yet. We hadn't heard. I'm gonna call them Monday to see what they're looking at this year. And it goes into January. As long as we catching big shrimp, they leave it open, and when the shrimp start to shrink up, they try to close it to save the overwintering crop.
And what's the longest you spent on your boat at one time?
When I was in the Gulf shrimping, and my wife and I just got married because it was winter was 1977. We stayed out 22 days one time. We actually kept shrimp on ice that long. We just put preservative on them and turned them over. Now we did go into Grand Isle one night so we could get off the boat, but we were gone from the dock. A home port for 22 days, that's the longest.
That's a long time. Have you ever had to rescue other boaters? If so, please elaborate.
I've had, one time I was running back from down south, Georgia somewhere, and I come by the Savannah Light, which is a big light out in the ocean, and 2 guys out there waving a life jacket. It was getting close to dark. They said, we broke down, we don't have no radio, can you get a hold of Coast Guard or something? So I didn't get them, but I stayed there till the Coast Guard got there to pull them back into Savannah. But, I mean, we all help each other. All the shrimpers are, I mean, I've been pulled in, I pulled people in, and there's.
Well, that was my next question. Have you ever had to be rescued? If so, please elaborate.
Well, I've had my engine break down and had to get pulled in with the arms that we let down, the outriggers and then everything else. So I had to anchor the boat down the creek there and I could get it cranked up and you know, didn't come on to the dock, but I've been pulled in. I was out there the same place where I found and saw the Challenger part, the Coast Guard. My engine shut off on me out there, about 60 miles offshore Savannah. And I drifted to the Coast Guard, set a cut out there, and they pulled me back into Savannah. I forgot about that.
Whoa. Yeah, I noticed the Coast Guard, they were launching their boat here the day before yesterday, so.
That's a buoy test. They were working on the buoys in the coastal waterway.
Okay. And so what's your favorite shrimp dish or recipe?
I got so many. You know, some people say, you still like shrimp? You're having so much, seem like you would. Matter of fact, I'm eating fried shrimp tonight, so I gotta say fried shrimp.
Yeah, so I actually sent these questions ahead of time to Richard, but he told me this morning he never got it. And so
I'm just winging it.
Yeah, he's winging it. So on that particular question, what's your favorite shrimp dish? I told him your answer is there are great recipes in the book Reflections of My Island Life that his dad wrote. And he's got some copies. Well, they're actually available on Amazon, right?
No, we ain't a book.
No, okay. So you'll have to make another trip down to Bennett's Point.
There's a few in there. She got
There's a couple in there. But I've read this. It's a fascinating book. So this book is going to anybody who can tell us the name of our 12th grade English teacher. Who said that? You got it. Here's your book.
Are you from Waldemar?
No, I just know someone by the name of Von Lee.
Okay, cool.
She was tough. I'll say that.
Yeah, that's a great book. Okay, so tell us about your dad. That was Billy, Billie, and when did he start shrimping, and how long did he shrimp? And, oh, never mind, I already gave you the answer. Your answer is, as I said, it's in the book. We have plenty of them for sale.
Actually, Daddy started shrimping, like I said, in about 59 when he had that little shrimp boat. He actually rode out Hurricane Gracie. I don't know if y'all familiar with that, how long he's been in South Carolina, but pretty bad hurricane on that boat. And it broke loose from the dock, and it was sinking, and he was across the river over there on it. And just older black gentleman, Capel Smalls of Crabber, lived over here, and he heard Daddy over there hollering, so he paddled across this creek during the High Gracie in a Bado and got Daddy off that boat for it summer. But that was his first one, and he shrimped part-time because he worked for the plantation. And I got in about, when he decided to buy the first one of these Alabama big boats, he sat me down and said, what are you going to do when you get out of high school? I said, I don't really know. He said, if you want to shrimp, I'm going to go ahead and buy this boat. So I was kind of obligated when I got out of high school to shrimp, and I just stuck with it. I mean, Daddy, he just shrimped part-time. He didn't ever really get out of it.
Yeah, his dad, by the way, and this is also in the book, he was the manager of multiple plantations in the Low Country, mostly for a man named Mr. Dodge. And so, like I said, it's a great book, good read, and I won't spoil it, but there's a real sad episode about Richard's uncle, right, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just a real. And just tell me where that was. Don't say what it was, but just point to where that happened.
There's a bridge going across the family column where we lived, and my grandmama and Daddy and all his brothers and all, they lived there. And they started looking for Joe, and they couldn't find him. Finally, somebody saw his hat floating in the creek, but he fell off the bridge. And Daddy, in 2013, when he got this book done, before he got it done, he went to the Southeast Violin Expo and sold a bunch of copies and all. Well, the following weekend, that Saturday morning, he run off a little wooden bridge going across that same island in his truck, and he died in his truck the week after he got the book done.
Yeah. And
2013.
2013, yeah. And by the way, is Tadpole here today?
He was here earlier, but I don't know where he went.
Okay, that's Richard's brother. His name's Tadpole. And when his dad saw him at the hospital, he said, well, he ain't got no ass. He said he had broad shoulders, but he said, that's tadpole.
Looks like a tadpole. You can say he looked like a tadpole, and that's what he's been able to.
So tadpole, if you're around, just come introduce yourself. Okay, he's out of here.
He's, yeah. Tadpole was like my bodyguard, 'cause he's a lot bigger than me, and they held him back in the first grade because he didn't have glasses, he couldn't see nothing. So when they found out he needed glasses, they held him back in the first grade. So we went through school, all 12 grades together, and he was my protector. I get in fights and he'd handle us.
So here's another question with an answer. Do you have anything else for sale here? And your answer is hell yeah, shrimp and oysters and fish and
Oyster season's over. I think a bushel or two. We got shrimp. We got some frozen fish. The big thing we sell here is mostly gas and diesel. The sport fishing boats come from Edison over here all the time because the marina over there is usually about $1 a gallon more than us. We've already had one in here this morning.
yeah. So there's a tip for you. Edisto Island is what, about 15 minutes by water here?
Probably 20. It's about 6 miles.
I drive faster than you. So let's see. Oh yeah, what time do you get up in the morning to go shrimping?
Most mornings around 4 o'clock. Leave the dock by 4:30.
And what time do you get back?
Back in the old days, a lot of times it's after dark, but I don't work that hard no more. So usually if I shrimp 6 or 7, 8 hours a day, I'm coming back home. Yeah.
So here's another tip for you. Go to Facebook and go to B&B Seafood, and you can see some spectacular sunrises and sunsets. About every day that there's a nice one out there because he takes them personally. So
We're not shrimping.
yeah, so
Is there foreign shrimp that come into this area for restaurants and stuff? Or is it all local?
Oh, most of the restaurants in Charleston sell imported shrimp. They come up with a test where they're going around and testing restaurants, and they figured out that it's Beaufort or Savannah, one place they did it. Like out of 45 restaurants they tested the shrimp at, and they was advertising local. 30, there's only 11 that were actually selling American shrimp. The rest of them are selling imported. So they got a test down that we've got this organization that's come up with it. They're going around checking a lot. Now, I know somebody right there in Waldeboro, they got a little shrimp boat parked out in front of the business. Fresh local shrimp. They selling shrimp from Indonesia. They're friends of mine, so I'm not gonna call them names.
yeah, so that pretty much is a wrap. Richard has a couple of shrimp here, a boy shrimp and a girl shrimp, and he can show you how you can tell one from the other. I go shrimping a lot. I've never known this.
You probably don't ever see a shrimp with the head on hardly unless you shrimp yourself. The female shrimp, the legs aren't attached. See, this is the male here. See, he's got the front 2 legs are attached. That's the male shrimp.
Yeah, come take a closer look.
See, that's the male shrimp. That's the stuff right there. The front 2 legs are attached.
On the male.
The male.
Okay, so for comparison, show the female.
I caught these off my dog.
They're nice size.
I caught them for bait. See, the female, the front legs aren't attached. See, they're not attached. The male's got that little thing between the legs. These are Pinian white shrimp. This is our main crop here in the morning. Brown shrimp in the summer. I had learned that's what I've been doing all my life. We had a little farm
Right next to the head.
Beaufort, probably 3 weeks ago. And these people are studying larvae that comes into our rivers. Pink shrimp is what we caught in Key West, and they catch some up in North Carolina. More pink shrimp larvae comes into our rivers here than white or the brown shrimp, but they don't materialize. I don't know what happens to the larvae. I never knew that too. So you keep learning. I'm 60, he's 69 in July. I'm still learning about shrimp.
So I'm older than you. Damn. I'll be 69 in May.
Okay.
So is it common down here, since people shrimp a lot, if they eat a lot of shrimp, does everybody get gout from it, or not necessarily?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anybody. I know people get gout from crabs, but I don't know about shrimp. I guess it kills them. I eat shrimp. I've eaten shrimp 6 times in 1 week, and I never had gout.
Well, that's good, 'cause I like shrimp.
The wild caught East Coast shrimp are good. They got the omega-3 fat. You know, they used to say shrimp was high in cholesterol. They figured out that wasn't right. They got the good kind of fat.
Anybody else have any questions for Richard?
Can you talk about when you guys really adopt the reserve? I would like to know what reserve it is used for reserve the shrimp.
We used to use, when I was shrimping in the Gulf, making long trips, we put sodium bisulfite on the shrimp. And we figured out some people are allergic to that, so I don't use any preservative anymore. Some people use something called Everfresh, and people wonder, well, what is it? But it's got the same chemicals in it that toothpaste has in it, so it's not harmful. Sulfites, you know, some people are allergic to it.
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
Hey, does the tariff help American shrimpers?
A lot of
He
my-
is not a fan of Donald Trump, by the way.
I'm gonna just say this. We had tariffs from 2005 to 2015. They had tariffs on imported shrimp from 6 countries. The Shrimp Association, we hired a lobbyist and got it all done under what they call the Byrd Act, Byrd Amendment, Senator Byrd from Alaska. And it affected the price shrimp probably 50 cents a pound. It ain't gonna make a big difference.
How many crew do you have on your boat when you're out?
I could go out there with one guy, but I like to take about 3 because I don't do much anymore. I'll get on the boat and drive it. I got a guy that works for me now. I call him my engineer. When I get here in the mornings, they got ice on the boat. We got the boat cranked up running. I get on and drive. When I get back to the dock, I get off. They shut it off. So.
Is there enough pressure on the fishery that you're finding that there's fewer and fewer shrimp that you're catching, or has it been pretty consistent? You can have a decent living.
I can say for a fact that there's not near as many shrimp in these waters as there was 20, 30 years ago. Because there's no boats out there now. I used to go out there and drag in a fleet of 30 boats. I'm the only one. And I get not much more than what I got when there was 30 boats all dragging the same spot. So there used to be shrimp buyers that came here before all the imports. They bought from Red Lobster and all these big restaurant chains. They would haul just out of Buford 5, 6 tractor trailer loads of shrimp a week, and that's $400. Now they don't have one order.
Do you ever get together with all the other shrimpers? There's a lot of shrimp industry here. Do you get together in any way with the shrimpers, you know, down
Have a
in
drinking
Seaford?
party?
Yeah, we have a shrimp association. I was president of the Southern chapter for a while, and we have meetings every now and then to talk about issues with the industry. We used to have kind of a rough working relationship with DNR. They wanted to protect all the roe shrimp and wouldn't let us go out there and drag them. Right now we got a good relationship with them. They let us go drag these provisional roe shrimp areas so we can compete with other places and all catch shrimp, produce them. So,
Well, you might have been wanting to talk about that white dolphin that was caught out here by your dad, and you took it to the Miami Seaquarium, right?
actually, Daddy called Miami Sea Aquarium and told him there was one out here that he saw on the shrimp boat and had one of the middle-sized boats we had. 60s probably. They sent a crew up here to catch it and keep it alive. They sent an airplane to Walter Airport and took it down there. Turned out it wasn't a true albino. So they called it son of Snowball, because they had caught one in the 50s. They named Snowball. It was one of the biggest tourist attractions they ever had.
Yeah, that was a pretty serious effort.
They
to
paid
catch
Dad.
that.
They paid Daddy $10,000, which that was a lot of money back in that day.
Yeah, they probably made more more than 10,000 on receipts from tourists, I'm sure.
And then, and since then, they passed all kinds of laws where you can't do that anymore.
Right, yeah, in South Carolina, in the legislature, it's in the book. So, anybody have a time? Gary's using my phone, so.
11:05.
11:05, so we're gonna get back on the road unless anybody has any last minute questions for Captain Baldwin here.
Y'all wanna come look at these shrimp a little closer to town? If you wanna look at them, I pull them out.